In the Realm by Janet Galooly, narrated by Janet Galooly. Thanks for being a listener. Chapter 1. My path has led me back to who I am. I was myself as a child, but then obstacles got in my way to become who I was all along. Not that you want all your childish ways, but the foundation. I think it takes a lot of time being alone with yourself. I can live on my own skin and not be afraid to be alone. I am not afraid to speak my mind and be honest with myself. Sometimes it's just best not to say anything. I am at peace most of the time. Stress makes me stronger. I take care of my soul, which is the most important thing to me. A book without soul is lifeless. I am not into the latest trends and idolize no one except God. I have a few friends, but most of them have died. I say simple but humble prayers. I think you must go through a lot of tribulations when you're lost to gain back yourself. I know who I am, but I do not look to the future. I am grateful for every day I wake up alive. I have a good life, not always easy, but I know there are some who have it more difficult. I do not have a lot of drama, which depends on who you choose as a friend. I am 65, so I am not looking for a career or to be married. I live with my cat, which I enjoy. I have forgiven myself and others. It does not mean I forget. I do not think I can forgive totally because I am not God. I try to be positive in a world filled with so much negativity. I am grateful Jesus found me when I was 25. I love people, but I dislike them as well. I will never be a saint, but I strive to do the right thing with each new day. We all have troubles which we surmount every day. Life is a hell of a thing to happen to someone. It takes a lifetime to finally be at home, the place you belong. Dusk comes and you are still here to make a difference. I ran all my life trying to escape reality. I am now and prefer to be sober. I want to be sane in a world that is full of drunken masses and perversion, choosing to do right even though the masses do not agree. Choosing what the Bible says that is ingrained in you rather than liberals who want to change the obvious meaning. I have traveled many paths, but one thing is certain, the Lord led me the whole way. Troubles make you stronger, and good times you appreciate. They are both for our own good to help us grow. No one understands a soul except God. Though life is short, we must spend it in honesty and treating others as if they are ourselves. Many angels intercede that we may not be aware of in this earthly existence. My life begins with Christ, and may it end with Christ. Those who live without Christ are a mere shell without life inside them. His light can draw many towards him, but the blind refuse to see. I accepted Jesus when he came, but he chose me. The dark places I have been in were so difficult, I did not think I would make it, but God rescued me every time. The dark places are like a tornado that scatters you all over into pieces. You are left with fear, paranoia, and confusion. A deep sadness fills your heart beyond your capability to bear. The consolations are an incredible gift from God. Your faith gets fed the grace of miracles. It is a bright sunshine that fills your whole soul. This gives you faith without consolations free from sight. The journey is full of calm, trouble, and joy. You can claim forgiveness every bright new day. You are washed clean every day for newness of the soul. Surround yourself with holy things such as pictures, statues, and books. This will encourage devotion and remembrance. Music can be a prayer as well as a book. You are aware of Jesus every moment and conscious of your wrongdoing. You make no conscious decisions without Jesus. You see him in everything and everyone. Your life is an open book before the Almighty. You long for your mind to be sane and your soul to be on fire. You long for your heart to expand with each passing day. I go back to church in different areas and love it. We'll add 2 pictures towards the end. Praying in silence for an hour is the best prayer before Eucharist. I have pictures on the wall of my church. It takes years to finally come home to yourself. You may make bad choices, but it brings you back to your intended path anyway. Nothing happens by mistake, and you are meant to be right here at this moment. Intuition and psychic ability come from God just as well as your gut feeling. I have no magic words, just hard work and prayer. Unfortunately, we learn wisdom too late, but that comes from a lifetime of journeys. Reading all the greats is very helpful. Just like an instrument, you must fine-tune prayer and knowledge. Cleansing your soul every day is the most important thing you can do. When I started on this spiritual journey, I was blind as a bat. Honesty comes in levels. Knowing yourself and being honest with God. People help you along the way, but then you make your own decisions with Jesus. I take not a day without asking God's forgiveness and thanking Him for my life. There is good and bad in everyone. I choose to pray for them. I want peace. That is true joy. I will confront it if I must, but mostly I stay to myself. No good can come from gossip. I choose my friends wisely, which I did not do in the past. I wanted to rush the process, but it takes time. You always want to be somewhere you are not yet. The struggle is a long process and very painful at times. When you get older, you are not in such a rush, because you have been through it all. You are settled now and just longing for a new day. Enjoy the moments before you know they are gone. Time goes so slow when you are a child, but when you get older, time flies. I still struggle, but I know who I am. That is real comfort, finally knowing who you are. Take time for yourself and pray. Not being alone and having quiet time can smother your soul. You don't miss the Eucharist till you no longer receive it. Eat my body and drink my blood to have an everlasting life. Unless you know the true meaning of the wafer in the temple, which is the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus, you will see no reason to go to the Catholic Church. Some people miss church due to illness. Some people don't like the hypocrisy of it all. But if your main reason is to pray before the Eucharist and receive it, then you are a winner. Priests are not perfect, and neither are any of us. I go for God, not for people or priests. I have no desire to socialize, but that is just what is best for me. I am trying to improve my prayer life and going to Mass. I found the right medication for sleep, so things will improve. Receiving Christ is the best gift you can give to yourself. Confession gives you a new start. The Bible helps you grow. The older you get, the less you care about looks, but focus more on the inside. God is profound. He uses writers to express themselves in a unique and profound way. When you lose all your dreams, get new dreams. Find new projects to make yourself feel productive. Gifts come and go. God uses you in new ways to get His word out and the growth process involved. Keep close to God and you will see your life blessed all the time. I am upset right now. You even have some friends who say, stay calm, no use to get upset. It is easy for them to say it is not their problem. My livelihood is at stake. The people involved exaggerate the truth and lie. They are also racist. I am white and they are black. White people never get to talk about black racism, but I will. I have been through this many times. These certain individuals like getting you upset. They are very nasty people. You wonder just when you are at peace why God lets this happen. I do not know the answer. Many claim they do, but they are just talking out of their ass. I am down to earth, so I do not proclaim to be perfect. I do rely on God even in down times. I believe in karma, and what goes around comes around. The honest get kicked around and manipulated. I am not a victim because I stay away from such people if possible. Feeling sorry for yourself is not a crime. It is having compassion for oneself. It is just a matter of how long you choose to stay there. You get over something when you get over it. It depends on the situation. You will finally have peace when God leads you to the project that gives you this peace. I used to express my feelings mainly from singing. I also did poetry writing in high school. Now I just write books, hoping someone can relate and learn from my experiences. I tell people off when they just do not care. That is what I do to release stress. They usually deserve it. Maybe that is wrong, but I get tired of people's indifferences. I know people have their own life, but if you're important, they could call. I am still in a downtime, and only one friend has shown me mercy. This is a hard world. If you do not have security, what do you have? The homeless are so judged and looked down upon. It only takes one check, and we all could end up that way. I have been away from church for a week due to my depression about my problems. You wonder why some people have more problems and others are in bliss. I must be honest, I do not like bad times. My family used to be close, but no longer. My parents were the only ones I could count on. When your parents are gone, you feel lost. I do not get much done during bad times, not even a shower. This sleeping medicine is powerful and makes me feel tired a lot. I do not have anything profound to say, just trying to be real. My apartment will be gutted soon, and I do not know if I can stay. I worry about my cat because we have had such serenity here. Some people get to stay while it is being done. I like this county and hope I can stay. I do not know if I must look for another place yet. I know God will look out for me while everyone seems to be against me, the management and neighbors. I hope to not lose my housing with all the problems they are causing me, lies and exaggerations they love to do. I will go to church tomorrow. This gives me such joy and makes my problems seem smaller. I have studied hard and read all my life, trying to get back the desire to read. I have lost a lot and probably will in the future. My time is short. I must finish this last book. A book reflects emotions and knowledge. My spirit soars each new day. I get a chance to make a difference. It is hard to write a book and then go through the whole process getting it published. I will probably record this book, which is difficult. Sometimes words come easy to me, and at other times it is very difficult. I think my best book is A Diary of My Confession. I seem to write better when I am more emotional. The greatest writers and artists did their best work during the Depression. I have thought a lot about the condition of this world, and it makes me angry. It also depresses me. People in power want us to turn against each other so we are easier to control. People usually are evil when in control. King David cried out to the Lord all the time. I cry out to you, Lord, to save me from my enemies, and may I prosper. I have fallen apart at times in hard times and felt so alone. Where are you, Lord? I know the Lord is there, but sometimes you feel you are all on your own. Remember when the saints cried out in heaven, Lord, when will we get justice? The Lord tells them to be patient, not much longer. There are times when it feels like the darkness will swallow you up. You are left blind to stumble and fall. God's grace revives you and you see hope again. Sometimes stress can wear on you like a massive headache. Just remember you are like a star and you are meant to be here. Hope is a good thing. So if you are thinking of ending your life, see a priest right away. Turn to the Eucharist and prayer and Mass. Go to confession. You are no less than the stars. We were made in God's image. He tries to perfect us each day. It is progress, not perfection. We do not have to understand everything. We just need to keep close to Jesus. I believe we will never fully know God even in the next life. God is a love far from comprehension. He does not judge like the world does, so be grateful for that. Each soul must follow their own path, which is narrow. If you need a good opening of consciousness, read Imitation of Christ. You must apologize every time you take the Lord's name in vain. You must be aware of everything you say and do. God takes nothing lightly. It does not mean he is not merciful, but you must be sorry for all your sins. Venial sins can add up to a mortal sin. I have studied the Bible and church for many years. Prayer is in very much variety. The Catholic Church is the first church. Do research instead of taking others' words. You cannot get involved with the occult. Read the Old Testament to find out what to stay away from. I believe you will find it in Numbers. I have to say these things in case it helps someone. I do not like preaching, but sometimes telling the truth might change someone. I was friends with a lesbian. She wanted the truth, so I told her. She never talked to me again. But some years later I saw her. All I can say is va-boom. She had blossomed into a beautiful woman. She was married and had 2 children. I have witnessed many times where my witnessing and prayers made a difference in someone's life. Chapter 2. God is in ultimate control of our lives. We have choices about certain things, but many other things we cannot control. We are not robots, but God will lead us to our intended path. If you fight gods, you will lose every time. People make mistakes, but God can show you the way out of your mistakes. I believe we cannot help who we are, but with Jesus inside us, growth will happen. We lose our way sometimes, but never too late to arrive at our destination. Have you been so low, that you just thought no one would understand. Someone right now is having the exact thoughts you are having and going through the same thing. There is nothing original under the sun. Some people are evil, not necessarily crimes, but a cold heart and evil motives. Shows no empathy to others, only care for themselves. Everyone is your brother, but a lot of people can only care for their immediate families. Kind words can go a long way. The Lord protects us from our enemy. Mystics have a deep prayer life and usually have had special experiences with God. They usually are in a deep contemplative state. They feel their whole life is dedicated to prayer and others. They are very conscious of their sins. They do not see it as a duty but pure joy. They prefer silence more than any other prayer. We have glimpses of God, but He remains a mystery to us all. People want to believe everything is okay, but that is not what the Bible says. The Bible speaks of homosexuality as a grave sin as well as lying. We cannot choose some of the Bible and ignore the rest. I am not a right-winger, but I do believe in the Bible. I have given a lot of thought to a lot of things. I can see both sides of an argument. My beliefs cannot change no matter what. If having an open mind means sacrificing all the Bible in the Catholic Church, then I have a closed mind. Having an open mind but keep the screen up to prevent bugs from getting in. I believe you must have a foundation in your spiritual life, one of prayer and church. This also includes reading. I think your prayer life is the most important. My trials have been heavy. If it were not for Jesus, I would have gone mad. People have been my saving grace as well. Animals are so innocent, angels sent down from heaven, reminding us of our once innocence. Jesus is the light of the world. We are given so many chances to turn to Him. Time is growing short. We are babes in the woods without a clue. Jesus asks us to believe and trust in Him. There are too many people who do not give Him a thought. They think life will go on forever. Life can be a beautiful thing. It can also be dark. Wait for no man. Wait on God and He will hear you. Life is easier with money, but without it more of a struggle. People who say money can't buy happiness usually have it. Those who are in danger of losing their soul, money will not buy heaven. It is amazing to me how many people consider their soul last. Life goes on and still they will not look in the mirror. Read James if you need to get honest. I have heard some people say Alcoholics Anonymous is their Bible. AA originally started with the Bible. The Bible should be their main book. There are hypocrites in AA as well as in church. We are all hypocrites in some way. My people are originally from Ireland, and they were slaves before the blacks. I never lived in Ireland, so why should I call myself Irish American? Blacks today did not live in Africa, so they should be called Americans. I am not technically white, but tan or flesh color. Blacks are browner. Racism is on both sides of the races. If blacks get reparation for being slaves, which they are not, I should get reparation for what my Irish people went through. Technically, everyone should get reparations. I want justice for all. In this imperfect world, it does not happen. Many have been mistreated in the justice system and through the government. Our government lies, cheats, and even kills so they can line their pockets with cash. Normal situations in jobs and housing are the same way. The world has always been this way, but now it gets worse day by day. The energy we have now works better and is cleaner than the new green energy. People are told a lot of lies and believe them. The border is open. Socialism, no matter where there is a dictatorship. They are trying to control our children, and our education system in this country stinks to high heavens. Just do not believe everything you hear. Blacks are conservatives and get treated worse than the white conservatives. Just remember, the Democratic Party was for slavery. They were against civil rights. Watch Mississippi burning to see how blacks are treated in the South. When I was 5 years old, I remember JFK getting killed. I remember when Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. I also remember when Bobby Kennedy was shot. That was an emotional time. When I was a little kid, we had a black midget boy in our class. We were all going to the skating rink. He was sitting on the curb crying. I talked to him and found out he was not allowed in because he was black. I told him I would not go in either. I waited for his parents to pick him up. Another time this mentally challenged girl was being made fun of in my yard. I kicked them out. Asked her if she would like to stay, but she wanted to go home. I have always fought for the underdog. I just wanted to say that the black boy's name was Henry. I will never forget him. I remember seeing my dad having a burning cigarette on the carpet, so I put it out. I do not know if anybody else in the family had to do this. My mom was cleaning the oven and had a hand towel hung on the outside of the stove. It caught fire and I yelled fire. My brother came out running naked to put it out. I was not usually home, and it was just me, Mom, and my brother living there. Never got a thanks for saving their lives, but that is fine. Mom and my brother never left their rooms. If I had not been there, the whole house would have burned down. Chapter 3. I have talked to many of the angels and saints, including my dead family. That includes friends as well. Many saints have helped me a lot, especially Mother Mary. I figure by talking to them I will have lots of friends when I die. I one time focused so much on a picture of Jesus that he told me I would have someone soon in my life, not with words but thoughts. He also told me I would get a red car. It all happened exactly as he said. I went to a church that a priest had visited who could make statues cry. I had been chaste for 4 years, and that is the last time that priest visited the church. He made the statue of Mary cry and a window pane of her. I kissed them both. 4 became my lucky number. A friend told me to pray to her friend, who she got pennies from every time she prayed to him. I gave it a try and even received a penny in my mailbox. I met my male friend. The number on his car racing shirt was 4. He also had a keychain with a horseshoe with a penny in it. My new phone number has a lot of 4s in it. My grandmother had a psychic ability, which I got from her. I also got the gift of poetry from her. She was worried about Dad, but had a dream of the office he would be working in, so she never worried about him again. I knew when Yeller, my brother's dog, would die. I knew when my dad was going to die. I also knew when my mom was going to die. I have visions with my eyes closed. It only happens when God wants it to. In my vision, my mom was in front of St. James Episcopal Church, where I used to go to AA meetings. She was in a dress with a hat on, waving her hand to say goodbye. I also have had deja vu several times. You know you have been there before. I believe you dreamed it before. The Bible says you get one body and one spirit. I do not believe in reincarnation. One time there was a new dog this crazy old lady got, who I lived with for a short time. The dog was black and looked just like my old Irish setter Sabrina. She thought I was her master, and I took her to work. The lady got jealous and chained her outside the rest of the time I was there. I believe she visited me for a short time to let me know she was waiting for me in heaven. When I first became a Christian, I was so possessed, I was so high that it was like when they thought the apostles were drunk, when they were just high on the Holy Spirit. I had this feeling many times. I went to the Catholic bookstore in Fort Washington, and the lady could see I was on fire. It is a shame they do not have good Catholic stores like that anymore. When I was going through hell in my book Voices, Jesus' face appeared on the clock to let me know these troubles would be over soon. I read the Bible day and night. I used to think I spoke in tongues, but I do not believe a lot of people do. The apostles spoke in many different languages. They did not speak in gibberish. My brother Jeff, who has gone to heaven, knew about the Bible long before I did. His only problem was he read the Protestant Bible. He gave a lot of himself in money. He was a lot like Dad, but did not have the wisdom. Dad, of course, lived longer and had more patience. My brother had a big heart and a good sense of humor. I believe he was with me at times to help. Jeff once told me his prayer was to take on all the crosses of the family. He was so humble and such a genius. Greg took care of Mom when she had Alzheimer's disease. Greg was always joking, but I knew what a sensitive man he really was. He did things for Mom that a son should not have to do. He deserves a better life than working 7 days a week. All of us 4 younger ones were always the closest, and I miss that. I pray Greg can get a rest soon. Chapter 4. It is a shame that people must be cruel to each other. They first learn it from their family. Some people tend to be crueler than others. My dad was my biggest influence on what love really was. Some do not have a chance of being born in such abusive families. Poverty leads to crime because they are so desperate to escape their situation. God has mercy on those he has mercy on. God considers what you have been through, but also judges motives. God knows each man's soul and heart. There was a woman named Charity, and she was originally from Africa. She has gone back to Africa. That woman was a saint. Even though I did not believe in her religion, she was a shining example of Christ. She loved Jesus so much and obeyed him. She never spoke an unkind word. She was a nurse and worked on the land. She had many skills. If she is an example of an African, then I sure wish I had been born there. There was an old black lady I used to take to church. This is before I became close to Christ. She told me about her relatives who were slaves. She said she did not understand the attitude of blacks today. Her ancestors that were slaves had no such attitude, and neither did she. I took an old lady to church who was in a wheelchair. I was not close to Christ then either. She needed a ride, so I took her. I was not crazy about sitting in the front pew, but I did it for her. I used to pick up hitchhikers. I believe it was safer then. There was one horror story I will never forget. I was not close to this female teenager. I cannot even remember her name. These 3 men picked her up on Billingsley Road. They raped her and stuck a stick in every part of her body. I have known quite a few who have committed suicide, but I do not judge them. In the Bible it says God chooses your time of death. It does not say they will go to hell. I believe that is between God and the individual. Some were probably out of their mind. Missing church on Sunday I do not believe is a mortal sin. There are various conditions that keep people from church. You are exempt after a certain age. People who do not know the meaning of the Eucharist are just ignorant. I do not believe if you stop reading the Bible you are going to hell either. Some people are old and tired. Others have various conditions. The Bible should not be used to judge others, but to look within. We are not God, so we have no business saying who is going to hell. God decides this alone. Again, God looks at motives. I must tell you that if Hitler is not in hell, then we all have a chance. Hell is eternal. Make your decisions very carefully. I know the Protestants believe once you are saved, that is it. The Catholics believe you must work on your progress every day. If you make bad decisions and are not sorry, you could still lose your soul. The main thing is how you treat others. Alice had a hard life. She was my friend. She is in heaven now. Her mother was in an asylum for most of her life. Her mom had a severe case of schizophrenia. She turned to Mary for her mother. Her husband was very emotionally abusive. When she died, he turned his life around. He is also gone. I have a problem with this one. He gets to treat Alice badly all her life and then is forgiven. I have a problem with serial killers being forgiven too. I know that is not the right attitude. I remember God talking about wages, and everyone got paid the same. Some had a problem with this because they had worked longer. I have a problem with this story as well. God wants to forgive everyone, so who do I think I am? I let a lot of people go that hit my car when it was their fault. I have given lots of people rides to AA even when it was not convenient. I used to visit the nursing home to witness Christ before all the new rules. I have given many gifts to people over the years when I could afford it. Took one person out to dinner a lot. I also spent a lot of money on a friend. I helped my neighbor here before she moved. I helped them a lot. I cannot afford to help anyone anymore. I am on a fixed income. I warned people who I sponsored to stay away from a certain Buddhist sect. I took people I sponsored to go pray with me and go to Mass. I have listened to people's problems a lot. It was especially hard to listen to severe manic depressive problems. I was closer to her than I have ever been to anyone. She never wanted to be honest and blamed everything on a chemical imbalance. She broke my heart severely several times, but I kept going back for more. I helped her and another to clean their house. I went with my mom to Mass. We went walking a lot together. I was saying the rosary for Mass, and she wanted to know what I was trying to prove. I stopped saying the rosary, and then she started to say it. I asked her if she ever talked to Jesus, and she said they are all the same. I told her that was not true, and you need to talk to Jesus. She wanted to know why I was reading all the saint books. I told her, hoping it will take effect. She asked me if I ever had experiences with God. I told her yes. She asked if I would talk about it, but I told her no. She in turn gave me a lot of books with scripture in it. She gave me a concordance for Christmas. My mom signed those books, but a friend stole them and now I will never have them again. She gave me a lot of religious items that had been in the family for years. Dad was going to give us 4 younger ones a belt, but I thought I was too old for that. We had just gotten back from church and I was in a dress. I ran down in the woods with no shoes on and stayed there. Wasps were bothering me, and I saw a man who spotted me in the woods. I was getting scared. Just then my 2 brothers, Dennis and Greg, came down. Dennis put a shirt around me, worried I was cold. That was the nicest thing Dennis ever did for me. They told me Dad would never use his belt again. The 3 younger ones were mad because they got the belt. Greg and I helped take care of our grandmother. We had Uncle Johnny and Aunt Maggie there as well. They were my great aunt and uncle. Back then, we had everyone staying with us. Grant stayed with us. He was Michael's friend. We had our cousin Judy and her family stay with us. This was not all at the same time. Dennis and Nancy stayed with us. Grant was there when my aunt and uncle were there. Aunt Maggie thought he was a woman because his hair was so long. Mom let Aunt Maggie do the dishes to feel helpful, but then Mom had to redo them. Michael was there a lot for me when I was younger. He gave me an album every Christmas of a female singer. I have a chemical imbalance, and I could talk to him about it. He saved me one time when I was an idiot and took cocaine. Never did I do that again. He had to locate me because I could not find my way home. Christy walked me through a rough time I was going through. It is in my book Voices. If you want to know, she believed I could not make up this much stuff every day. She was very patient with me. My family put me up in a motel room but decided to go back to my boyfriend. When I was pregnant, I started bleeding and talked to my sister Sheila. She said Mom and I are taken to the hospital. I said I wanted to drink my coffee. Sheila said, no, we are coming now. They took me to the hospital. A doctor there did not like me, and I did not like him. At first, they had me out in the hallway hooked to a catheter like I was a number. I told the nurse to take this catheter off. I do not make a good patient. The doctor was nasty, so I went to the bathroom to have a smoke. He got mad, but I just sarcastically smiled. Mom and Sheila came. Mom said, I heard you are giving the doctors a hard time. I do not want to die, I said. She said, trust in God, and that calmed me right down. I got another doctor, thank God. He told me it was a tubal pregnancy, and I was going to lose my baby. Michael came to see me, and Mom said he was shocked to see my hair in such a mess. The doctor said when I first came out of surgery, I threw up and asked where my baby was. I stayed in the hospital, but then my mom said she could not afford it, so I left. The nurses were nice to me while I was there. They took me to a room to smoke. I thought Mom was mad at me because being pregnant, but Sheila said she did not want to lose a grandchild. Patty was the only one who sent me a card about my loss. Sheila was very nice. She did the dishes for me once I was home. My cat had been fixed about the same time, so we had to stay off our feet. My friend Melissa came over with a pot of spaghetti. Chapter 5. They do not make friends like Glenn and Barry anymore. Glenn used to let me clean his house for money. He tried to get me to sing with his guitar, but to tell you the truth, I could not sing as well anymore after entering the program. My heart was not in it anymore, nor was my guitar playing. I gave it up because I got my heart crushed. It was not a man, just various reasons I do not care to go into. The only person I remember saying anything worthwhile in AA was Glenn. I think most people just wanted to run their mouths. I remember everything Glenn used to say. He had a hard life, but he never stopped helping people. He was easy to talk to. Glenn quit smoking. He lost all his weight, then gained it back again. He died of a heart attack. I went to his funeral. I remember being on campus and mad at him. Why could you just keep smoking? Then you could have kept your weight off. Glenn read a lot, so he had many wise things to say. Barry let me call him any time of the night. I was afraid to be alone at night. He would talk me through it. I no longer have the fear, thanks be to God. Barry and I talked quite a few times. He tried to get me to quit smoking in a tough way. We got into a fight. He sent me a card to apologize. I never got to talk to him again because he died. I am happy to know that Barry is at home with his wife. She is the only woman he loved. He was an excellent Catholic. I lived next to Glenn. My landlord was named Pete. He had a rough ending. People used to judge him because he would go out and get alcohol for his wife. She was an alcoholic. I think he was showing her mercy. She died eventually. He rented me his garage apartment. I had a black cat named Sam. Pete lost his house. I lost my apartment, therapist, and the puppy I just got. Lost my job after working there for 7 years. It was due to new management. Lost my cat before all that. Pete was all right for a while, but just could not take it anymore, so he ran into a telephone pole. I was so upset that he killed himself. My dad was a marvelous man. I remember all the wise things he used to say to me. He and my brother were geniuses in math as well as my sister Christy. Dad helped me get a C in statistics in college as well as a B in algebra. He was the one that kept the family together. He was a tall man and looked like a younger brother of John Wayne, better looking of course. He had a great sense of humor and was very compassionate. He fought in World War II. He used to tell me to try not to make any enemies because you never know who you might see on the way down. His presence was the largest in the room. Sam and I became very good friends. I dated a lot of musicians but did not date Sam. Sam is a friend of my brother Mike. Sam and I lived close to each other. We went to Mexican restaurants. We both played guitar and sang. He took me to a nightclub once and played guitar while I sang a Linda Ronstadt song. He told me he could not even hear a pin drop. He said he wished he got that kind of response when he sang. We no longer kept in touch and he got married. Joe and I fell in love, but nothing happened because he was married and had children. We had everything in common, physical, mental, and spiritual. It was very painful for me for years. He was leaving AA for very good reasons. I and Dave took his side of the controversy. I told him the last thing my dad said to me was when I would pick up my guitar and start singing again. Joe said the same thing to me, and I knew I could never see him again. It is a relief because that is the worst heartache I ever had. I was at the gas station working the night shift and went out to get my Bible in the car. This black man said to me, "You are nothing but an amateur." I knew he was talking about me being a new Christian. He gave me the creeps. I never seen this man before. I knew I was going in the right direction if I was a threat to him. One time I was on my way to Bible study and my car door on the passenger side flew open. I had to pick up all my religious items off the side of the street. Another time I was on my way to Mass and my front door would not lock, but that did not stop me. The animals that I have had through the years were my best friends. They love you unconditionally even when you do not deserve it. When I left my boyfriend, I took my Irish setter with me, and she would put her head on my lap while I was driving. We lived in a trailer, and the best thing we loved to do is run in the fields together in the backyard. She loved to chase rabbits. My friend Brenda in high school was a great influence. She played guitar better than I did and sang better. When we harmonized together, I never sounded so good. We used to sing in front of classrooms. She married a musician and played in his band. I sang in an all-black club. They had the words in the background in case you forgot the words. My dad and some of the family came. I did the song so well I was glad my dad was proud of me. He did not come the second time because I think he wished he had encouraged my talent more. I was glad he did not come for the second performance because I drank gin. I made a complete ass out of myself. I popped all the balloons they had for a party. That was the last of many times I finally gave up music. My family that did come were so ashamed of me. My favorite toy I ever got was an Easy Bake Oven. That is when I first learned to cook. My mom taught me the rest. One night when we were living in Virginia, Greg said, "Why do we not use your Easy Bake Oven?" We were supposed to be in bed. My toys stopped working, so we used the oven. We got to eat it before Mom said, "What are you doing up?" The night ended. It was us four, the four youngest of the family. There are so many people that touch our lives. Memories are good to count on and give credit to those who deserve it. Father Daly helped me more than any priest. I took advantage of that, but it was not my intention. He helped me with my confession and just someone to talk to. He took care of me financially more than he should have. He is retired. We do not talk that much because of the strained relationship and political differences. I love him and always will. Chapter 6. Marnie has been a good friend to me for many years. We have a lot in common, so she understands me more than anyone. She is poor like me, but she has given me gifts and money when she could afford it. She is easy to talk to and is there for me the most to talk to. She has a big heart, and sometimes people take advantage of that. She has taught me so much by looking things up on the internet. We have helped each other over the years. Concetta and Jim were there for me even when my family chose to ignore me. They have financially helped me more than anyone. They are like family to me. They talk to me every night even though Concetta hates the phone. When I was living in their county, I always ran out of gas. Here comes Jim with his trusty old truck with a gas can to help me. Concetta and Jim are the only ones that give me something for Christmas and my birthday. Their two sons have helped me as well. Jim and Nick met me in Waldorf to load some used furniture for me on Jim's truck. They are the most special family I know. Maureen is a saint. She does good deeds every day. She goes to Mass every day. She is so busy helping everyone. She pays for my meds and pays for my cat when I take her to the vet. She has even given me food. She made sure my friend Nancy would get a turkey dinner from the food pantry, even though she was not in the area. I took it to Nancy, even though I was not in my area. Maureen in her retirement does better than anyone I know. My friend Nancy has been a sacristan ever since a very young age. She is 85 years old. She used to go to all the masses. She had to guess and count how many wafers were needed for each mass. She always got it right. She did everything as a sacristan, including the linen on the altar. Her mom lost 3 sons. One had serious epilepsy, and she would help her mom to take care of him. He died at a very young age. Nancy takes care of her daughter, who was born with a serious lung disease. Nancy is a saint in her own right. She lost her husband early in life. He was a saint as well. Nancy is a prayer warrior. All the churches have helped me, and I want to give them all a big thanks. There are so many priests that have been kind to me. Father Swink made you feel right at home in his church. He helped me so much, but the thing I liked best about him is he really wanted to save souls. Father John helped me a lot with gift cards to get food. I am glad he is well and back in his parish where he belongs. Erlene was my best friend in high school. She is very smart and has a big heart. We are still in touch today. She is very happily married, and I am glad about that. She has had her share of crosses to bear, but is a great Christian. I will always love her. Linda is a great prayer warrior. She has always been devoted to the Catholic Church. She sang a song one time in church that made me cry. I asked for a copy, but no one could sing it for me, and I no longer could sing. The person who wrote the song never published it. I guess I will sing that song in heaven. I always liked the Good Friday services with Father Daly. That was my favorite time of the year. He had it early so we would not get home so late. Father knew the name of every parish member. He said your name when you came to receive communion. He takes really good care of his family. Patty, my sister, was there for me through the cancer surgery I had. She gave me a Christmas gift card every Christmas. She is the only one that has had contact with me in the family for years. I found out how the family was doing through her. Sheila gave me a good amount of money twice. Patty is the only one that came to visit me for Christmas. Sheila came once. I am staying in touch with my oldest sister, Christy, now. Emily has been my dearest friend. She is a librarian, and she has helped me with many projects, including my books. She will be helping me with this book when I am finished. She is a good person and very intelligent. She is also a very talented person. She can sing and is in plays that are musical. She talked me through it when my cat attacked me. I was hysterical, but she calmed me down. Mary is also a dear friend. She has helped me through some tough times. She has always rooted for me and been very supportive. She is also a librarian. Live out of the area, so most of the time I just talk to them. Mary is a very friendly person as well as Emily. Joanne is retired. She was very friendly too. She was very supportive of me. I will miss her very much. Lisa came to visit me when I was in the hospital. She brought me a battery charger. Her visit meant so much to me. She helped me to get my books in certain parts of the library. All the librarians of Fairview have always been helpful to me and treated me like family. Dave was the best friend I ever had. He typed my papers for my master's degree. He bought me cigarettes in Virginia and gave them to me for a cheap price. He loaned me money once because back then I did not need much money. We were very close and cared for each other. Dave was older and much wiser than I was. He moved and I never saw him again. Tom and I were good friends. We had a lot of fun. We once took some others to find the buried treasure in old myth in La Plata. I do not remember the name of the book I read. We went on the property and there was a full moon. A beautiful white horse was in the fence. We decided to leave before we got shot. We were thinking about breaking into Amityville Haunted House, but Ed's sponsor told him, no breaking and entering. We just laughed our ass off. We never went. Tom moved away. I was talking to my brother Jeff outside. He is the one who taught me how to smoke cigarettes. I felt bad because Dad thought I was not a good example for my younger sister Sheila. I told Jeff that I started Greg and Sheila on pot. Jeff said, do not feel bad. I knew about pot before you. Us four younger ones went to the haunted house in Waldorf. We were in the dark walking through tunnels, and I grabbed Jeff's hair to guide me. He was mad about that. Then a woman strangled my brother Jeff. Jeff was mad, so he tried to strangle her. Greg stopped Jeff. We also stole Dad's car at night. It was us four plus Pam and Keith. I accidentally hit the neighbor's car. We got down to the river and were drinking. Cops came to drive us off. We saw Dad's car trying to find us. Neighbor reported us. Dad was waiting at home furious. Mom said he would have torn up my license if she had not talked him out of it. Sheila and I had a bedroom in the basement, so it was easier for us to sneak out. We shared the same bedroom all our lives. Mike and Dennis shared the same bedroom all their lives. Patty and Christy shared the same bedroom all their lives. Christy remained in Alabama to finish college. Patty and Ann were a good influence on me. Ann was a good sponsor. We did not agree on everything. They were both supportive. Ann had to listen to my problems a lot. Now I no longer need guidance. I have friends now that suit me better. Chapter 7. Marie and I met when working on our masters together. She can speak 3 languages. She has been a very good friend to me for years. Marie is originally from Haiti. She helps all her family over there financially. She has helped me many times when no one else could. When we lived near each other, she would take me out to dinner. When our family lived in Alabama, it was a great place to live. We lived on acres of land, and there were lots of woods. Woods with huge trees and large paths. There were horses, pigs, and steers. There were also cows. My brother Dennis and Michael took the path all the way to Huntsville. I looked out one morning and there were 2 beautiful horses in the front yard. There was a huge tree that was bent where you could almost climb straight up there on it. There were steers, so we all had to climb up in the tree in a hurry. Dennis got down and climbed through a wire fence. He let us know when it was time to come down. Dennis and Mike used to take sticks down to the creek to kill water moccasins. Our family dog Samantha was an Irish setter. She loved to run in a certain path all over the big fenced yard. It was like a mud path. She never came inside. When there was bad weather, she climbed in a little door full of wires to escape bad weather. The wires never hurt her. She loved to kill birds. Dennis took one bird that was bleeding inside the throat to try to stop bleeding. He said he wanted to be a vet someday. We used to take Samantha into the woods with us. She kept barking at the horse, so we got her away from the horse, afraid the horse would kick her. We took her on camping trips. She undid the zipper with her nose, so we went looking for her. My grandmother and I were alone when we were visiting her. She started crying, saying she couldn't go on without her husband. I noticed she had a breast removed. I did not know what to say. I was just a child. The only thing I remember about my grandfather is he would run us kids off the porch with a broom. He liked to chew tobacco and spit it out in a Maxwell coffee can. My grandfather was a coal miner. He was a tough man. If you want to know how tough it is, listen to Tennessee Ernie Ford, 16 tons. When we moved to Virginia, Samantha had to be chained, but she was allowed in the house. I think that is when she became old. In Maryland, I showed her what she looked like in the mirror, and she peed all over the floor. I was smoking pot at the time, which I no longer do. Samantha grabbed my joint and swallowed it. It seemed to do her no harm. The hotlines have always been very helpful to me. The good ones always leave. I have been talking on the hotline ever since I was 17 years old. Good habits are hard to break. There are plenty of bad memories for me, but I would like to focus on the good ones in this book. This book is mainly dedicated to the people I cared for and had a positive influence in my life. I hope you see how much one person can make a difference in your life. My fourth grade teacher, Sister Theophane, helped me to become a good student. She was so kind to me. She knew I had low self-esteem, so she took the time to help me believe in myself. She made a big difference in my life. I think everyone has a mixture of good and bad memories. I think it is important to remember the good times. Not that you should forget the bad times, but healing is a process. Marika was my spiritual advisor. I never had one before. It was an excellent experience. She helped me to open my spirit and heart to God during the sessions. She gave me such incredible insight. I felt like my wounds were healing. I do not know how to describe in words all I got from the experience. She moved away, and I felt a great loss. In Alabama, Greg, my brother, and I rode our bikes to the store. We were not supposed to ride them on the highway, but we did anyway to get candy. Patty asked for peanut butter cups. Patty, of course, got in no trouble. She never did. She was older and supposed to be more responsible. We went to the store and got all our candy. We met Dennis there, my brother, and Dad. Dad asked me and Greg what type of punishment we wanted. Did we want the belt and keep all our candy? We were going to drive-in that night. He then said we could not have the belt and not go to the drive-in with our candy. Greg wanted the belt. He always told me never to cry when he gives you the belt because he enjoys that part. I would cry before I even got the belt. I voted no. Dad decided we would lose our candy and not drive in. Greg was mad, but I was relieved. Greg always signed his school papers as Gregory the Great. Greg got so drunk one night that he ended up in the neighbor's car. The neighbor woke him up. Greg started on his way home but did not understand the women giggling. He looked down and realized he was naked. Mom and Dad were talking about it at the dinner table. They had no idea it was their son. We all tried not to laugh so he would not get into trouble. In Alabama, Sheila and I played communion. I would pretend to be the priest and give her bread. She would do the same thing. I played the teacher and wrote on the closet with chalk. It was one of those old cabinets you could do that with. We were in Illinois visiting our cousins for vacation. Cecilia, Sheila, and I stayed in the same bed that night. Our favorite cartoon was Sleeping Beauty. We stayed up a long time making jokes about it and laughing. We thought the cartoon was so funny. I have no idea to this day what we said. I got Sleeping Beauty character paper dolls. I enjoyed that very much. We played hide and sought with my cousin. Seal was so smart she put the object in a zipper on a pillow. You could not even notice it. I was on her team and we won. Trish was a very good counselor. She always gave me a book to read and I gave her one. I was sick from a nervous breakdown and she came to the halfway house with cigarettes for me. She told me she does not even buy those for her children. She gave me a picture of a cloud that looked like an angel. I still have that picture today. She had an office decorated with fun stuff like a light that went in and out. If you want to know what I went through, read my book Voices. She died and that was a great loss to me. Claudette, Leslie, and Jada are very good hotline counselors. Jada is also a good... I'm sorry, wait a minute. Claudette, Leslie, and Jasmine are very good hotline counselors. Jada is also a good counselor. They really care about me and how I'm doing. They let me talk about stressful moments. Anne was a very good counselor. She was so understanding. She never judged me. She and her coworkers gave me presents for Christmas and my birthday. She moved away, and I miss her very much. Dr. Mannell was a very good psychiatrist. He got my medicine right the very first time I met him. I spent years being a guinea pig for many doctors. He is now gone. I am now seeing Dr. Gergay. He is a very good psychiatrist. They do not have emergency numbers for psychiatrists that I am aware of, but Dr. Mannell always returned my call. Chapter 8. My Facebook friends have been supportive. I want to especially thank Anthony and Wally. Anthony, you know my family, which gives us a special connection. You have been a good friend to my brothers. Wally, you have always been good to me. You are a shining example of the program. Jack was a very good friend. Everybody liked Jack. He was quite a jokester. He always supported me during bad times and celebrated my good times. Michael and Fred have always been good to me. It took Fred a while to get the program. Michael was always there for me. Fred has passed on. Michael and I are no longer in touch. Jerry was always a good friend to me. He helped me with my graph for my thesis and my master's level of education. We are no longer in touch. Bobby was a good friend. I used to visit her at her house. She always defended me and was supportive. She was a beautiful woman inside and outside. We are no longer in touch. Melissa was my soulmate. We had the same chemical imbalance. We were the same age. We also had the same amount of sobriety. She was a very special person. She no longer lives around here. We lost contact about a year ago. She cannot handle much except her family. I still and always will love her. She became Catholic because of me. I confronted people when I should have kept my mouth shut. I did not speak up when I could have. That made me a fool. I always had to learn things the hard way. Kenny Groves was a very good friend of my brother. I lost my brother, and it was a great loss to Kenny as well. Kenny has had a lot of losses. We are no longer in touch, but I pray he has a good life. When I was a child, I always stood up for myself. When we moved from Alabama, I became very withdrawn. All these experiences and people we have known make a difference in our lives. President Trump has made a big difference in my life. He did not watch as much. I did not watch as much news till he started to run for president. He made such a positive change in our country, and we were never doing so well. Trump was another Don Rickles. He is so smart and funny. He never took crap from anyone. Biden is the lousiest president we have ever had. I am hoping for a Trump return. Linda was my best friend in Alabama. We did everything together. I went over sometimes to help her with her homework. She gave me a farewell party when I was moving. I went back when I was older and saw her. She was with a friend. When I was a child, I had goofy glasses and a patch over my right eye. Linda and her friend were surprised to see how attractive I had become. I went from the ugly duckling to a swan. Now I am back to an ugly duckling. My favorite age was when I was 12, living in Maryland. I had no real worries, and I was still innocent. I baked a lot and cooked. I used to make brownies so well. They were not cakes, but real brownies. I made cakes and made my own icing. I loved to bake and cook. I baked a lot of cakes. I made cheesecakes and pies. I had not touched alcohol or drugs. My mom was pleased with me. When I was not yet in kindergarten, Mom took me to a restaurant to get the first hot fudge sundae I ever had. It was in a metal container. That is the best treat I ever had as a child. Dad picked me up from this lady who was taking care of me. I was just a child. He was holding me and I was crying because I did not want to leave. The lady gave me homemade chocolate chip cookies, so I stopped crying. My spiritual counselor was very good for me. She was in La Plata. She helped me with my relationship with God and other people. She walked me through my wounds to help me heal. She is retired now. I was closest to my friend Carol. She was severely manic depressive. I would go over to her house and we could talk all night. We talked about everything. We would share our problems with each other. We could talk on the phone for a long time too. We set up a prayer altar with holy pictures and lit candles. We would say the rosary together. We sat out on the back porch, which was screened in. She died of lung cancer. She said I was funnier than her. I told her about a man who had to get home because his wife was making him a cheese sandwich. We laughed and laughed. We were always cracking jokes. She was the most interesting person I ever talked to. These people have been grateful for sure. These people I have been grateful for sure were not perfect. I have had more than my share of bad times, but this is not the purpose of this book. When you stop and think about your life, you should feel gratitude for all the fond memories you do have. Life is full of ups and downs. It is the mosquitoes that will get you, not the alligators. If you have peace of mind and a clear conscience, then you have a lot to be grateful for. No one can walk in your shoes. We can all just bear to walk in our own shoes. It is difficult if you are not close to your family. I am grateful to Conchetta and Jim for treating me like family. The holidays are very depressing for me because I spend them alone. Conchetta and Jim usually get together with me after Christmas. I want to give Mr. Hungerford a special thanks for trying to take care of me after my dad died. He gave me a car. I worked at his gas station for 7 years. He never fired me, but I had friends there, so I probably deserved to be fired. Mr. Preble, I would like to give special thanks for always being good to me. I want to thank my mom for always being there when I needed her. When I came to visit her, she would always walk out to say goodbye. She would always say, "You are still pretty." Didn't quite know how to take that. When I was in a car accident and I thought for sure my car would flip over, she was standing nearby. The car did not flip over thanks to my driving skills, and thanks be to God. My mom kept all 8 of us alive. That is a big deal. She kept track of us all. She never left us in a car. She was intelligent and very organized. My dad worked as a chemical engineer for NASA. He was close to retirement but died of a massive heart attack. He kept the family together. He was a true head of the family, including spirituality. My grandparents wanted Dad to be a doctor. He went to medical school but dropped out. He was a medic on the ship during World War II. He told my brother he studied Jesus in Rome. He told me he studied all the religions and found the Catholic Church had the most to offer. I took comparative religions in college. I found it very interesting that Japan offered 1 hour of meditation during work hours. Dad said the nicest sound he heard on the ship was that of whales. Chapter 9. People are hard to understand. We could be simple, but we choose to be complicated. God is simple but complicated to us. I want to give my Aunt Lenny a special thanks for always keeping in touch with us. She gave each of us a $25 check every Christmas. It was Sheila's idea when we got older to give her a check. She wanted to give me a kiss on my cheek, so I had to wipe off lipstick. Dad never drank alcohol because he was diabetic. He only had a beer when Uncle Ralph came to visit. It was nice to hear those two talking. Uncle Ralph was a pilot in World War II. He became a commercial pilot after the war. All the World War II era in my family is gone. It is sad to think about. They were the greatest generation, in my opinion. They certainly did not spoil us. We shared each other's clothes. Aunt Myrtle was my favorite aunt. We did not get to see each other very much. When I was a little girl, she called me her cowgirl, and she gave me $1. When I was older, I took her for a sandwich at Hardee's. We talked easily, and she told me never to get married. I told her if everybody felt like that, no one would have any children. Aunt Myrtle was truly in love with a certain man. He died, and she was buried next to him. I never got married. Aunt Myrtle decided to be cremated to save Dad money. He had spent so much money flying the bodies of my grandmother, aunt, and uncle to Illinois in their hometown. Mom gave me Aunt Myrtle's hair bands because she realized how close I felt towards her. When we went to visit Uncle John, he would always buy us candy corn. He told us he was around when the first radio was invented. We 4 younger ones always went to Dairy Queen. We bought lemon cigarettes. I do not think any of us knew how to inhale. We went into the garage that was separate from the house and saw a skeleton of a dog's head. It was an old empty town. Everything in the stores was dusty. We saw James Bond with Sean Connery. The movie theater closed after that. We used to visit Aunt Cologne. I think young people miss out on seeing old houses. She lived alone. My Uncle Tom died of lung cancer at an early age. Aunt Cologne was related through her marriage to our Uncle Tom. I never knew him. My aunt eventually ended up in a nursing home. Dad said she was happy there. I cannot say much for the nursing home here. I visited one aunt, but I do not remember her name. She made the best chocolate cake without icing. All my aunts and uncles are dead. My grandparents are dead. I never knew my grandparents on my mom's side because they died before any of us were born. We have recently lost two cousins. It is weird that Dad lost a little sister named Eloise and Mom lost a little brother. Mom did not talk about her family. She and Aunt Lenny, her twin sister, were left to an aunt at an early age. I know Dad's little sister died of pneumonia. I don't even know the name of my mom's little brother and how he died. My mom, when I was young, told me her dad died in a hunting accident. When I got older, she told me he was an alcoholic and accidentally shot himself. Her mom died of tuberculosis. Mom got tuberculosis and stayed in a sanitarium for 2 years. She and Dad kept in touch by letter, but were not married yet. For all those women who are being abused right now, please get help. You deserve better than you're getting. Turn to Jesus and he will help you. I pray for all those being abused, including children and animals. Not everyone has an equal opportunity. We do not get to choose our families, but we sure can stay away from them when we get older. Stephen and I dated for years. He fought in Vietnam. He always carried a gun, and I felt safe. We had a lot of fun camping. We just used a tent and sleeping bags. This was before I became a Christian. He drank his bottle of Jack Daniels, and I drank my bottle of wine. When I was finished with the wine, he'd let me nip on his whiskey. I just had a high, and I was not drunk. We used to go down to this river spot with a beach before the government took over the property. We were always there at night and alone. We cooked hot dogs and marshmallows in the fire. We laid out there naked. I felt so safe with him. We saw deer, and that was majestic. He taught me things sexually that I did not know. We went to Point Lookout campgrounds. The water waves were so high, the waves were hitting the cars. He was standing on the rocks and looked like Robert Redford and Kirk Douglas in one man. We went down to that beach in the snow. He looked just like Robert Redford. He took me out to breakfast, and when we wanted to be alone, we went to McDonald's for chicken nuggets. He came to visit me at Towson University. He gave me an orgasm just by talking to me over the phone. I joined AA years later, and he showed up at my parents' house drunk. Jeff told me he insulted the family, which I thought was funny. I told him I could not get in with him in the car being so drunk. Later he called me to take him to a meeting, but my boyfriend at the time said no. Years later, after I left AA, I tried to contact him. His mother blamed me for not taking him to a meeting. I called his phone that I knew by heart, and the person said I had the wrong number. I called again, and the phone was disconnected. A friend of mine knew a police officer that could look him up. I found out that he died in a motorcycle accident. I am positive he will never quit drinking. My friend said his parents still lived at the same address. I guess they were shocked to have anyone ask about him. Bob, who was a friend of Tom's, Tom set me up with him. He gave me my first oral orgasm. He was engaged. I did not care because he looked like Mel Gibson with salt pepper hair. He had that great New York accent. Tom and I went to see him in New York. If you had been lonely as I was, you would have done it too. I would get a robot to give me an orgasm, but I'm afraid he might clamp down on me. I do not miss the whole dating journey. I was loved. Now I just want a cat. I know people who have good marriages, so I'm not knocking down marriage. It is just what I do not want. I once went out with a married man. It did not last long. We once had a hard time getting a hotel, and I took that as a sign from God. The grace of God rested on me, and then I witnessed to the married man. I never went out with him again. You got to understand, when you're trying to be a celibate because you are a Christian, those are the loneliest times. It is difficult when you are not as young and have not as many opportunities. Your hormones are raging, and you get tired of being alone. It is easier for me now because I don't have those raging hormones, and I do not feel like I must have a man to be complete. Do not judge the younger people so hard just because they have sex before marriage. We are growing up in a different time. My friend Dave told me the more he prayed, the more temptations he got. I understand this all too well. I do not know any perfect Christians. Just because your sins are different does not make you better. Aunt Lenny told me she was glad she did not have to date in my generation. Some people meet the right person at an early age. It is not always that easy for everyone. I think it is harder today because they are not the same values. My church life has kept me sane all these years. I would have been lost without it. It is a special feeling to pray in a room by yourself in front of the Eucharist. I found it in my new church. To go to Mass and receive the body and blood of Christ is also a special feeling. They don't give out wine anymore due to the virus. To go to confession with my new priest who does not judge is a great comfort. There is usually a reason someone sins. Find out what their situation is before you judge. Understanding is the key to everything. Most of the time, I do not think most people really communicate. They are too interested only in themselves. To have real communication means you must listen. Most people are not very good listeners. The people who want to control others cannot even control themselves. People are weak who try to control others. I will have to be honest, I do not want to understand everyone. I think certain people should be locked up. I do not care about their childhoods. More time today is spent on the criminals rather than the victims. My prayer life has saved me. I have always prayed in a Catholic church where the body of Christ is contained. Not that I did not pray at home because God is everywhere. I just prefer to pray in a church. The Bible has saved me too. I have read the whole Bible more than 7 times. I have read a lot of Catholic spiritual books and other religions as well. I have read a lot of psychology to try to understand myself and others. It took a lot of nursing because I like the sciences. Pre-nursing includes anatomy and physiology 1 and 2. I also had to take biology, zoology, and microbiology. I got an A in all those subjects. Took a semester of nursing, which involved having 20 books on your bed. I also did the lab. I got a C in nursing. I only had 1 semester left, but I quit. I do not care to go into all the reasons. I achieved a master's level of education in counseling psychology. I've read a lot of the great classics. I have read nonfiction to learn things. I have read many books in different genres. Reading has saved my life too. I used to read books like they were chocolate. I am trying to get back my desire to read. The history of this country has never been so important as it is to me now. I have an associate's degree, I have a bachelor's degree, and a master's. I took courses on how to be a better student. These courses helped me with organization. I had built my spiritual foundation on all these things. The many people I mentioned also helped me with my spiritual walk. People can be a real treasure or a curse. I've had people use me, but I let them. I cannot do money favors for anyone now. I am on a fixed budget. If you gain one thing with disability, then you lose something else. People always think being with a disability is a dream. I am here to tell you it is not. You you ran out of money after you run out of money after the first 2 days. You are lucky if you can get everything you need. This is the biggest apartment I've ever lived in. I am not getting kicked out, but the new buildings there are turning all these apartments into non-smoking. I will not stay in a place where I cannot smoke. Moving is one of the hardest things to do. I'm sure I've left someone out to give thanks to. I just want to say that visiting the Grotto of Mary at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception makes me feel very close to her. I have also been to the Grotto of Mary at the Franciscan Monastery. I like the grotto at the shrine better. I went to Emmitsburg to see the Imitation of the Grotto in Lourdes. I felt the presence of Mary very strongly there. I prayed on a certain rosary which I do not have now and felt Mary very close to me. It has been a pleasure to write this book, but difficult as well. I hope this inspires people to never give up. The journey can be long, but full of pleasure if you do your part. I hope this book will help you to share your own memories. It is a testing ground of the spiritual walk. Changes always happen even if we do not want them. God knows what is best for us even though we do not realize it at the time. I do not like people being negative about my life because I trust in the Lord. If they want to be negative, then let them do it with their own life. Sometimes the only thing you have left is your sense of humor. If I could not laugh at myself and make jokes all the time, I would have gone crazy. Telling the truth makes people laugh because it is so rare these days. I can be an old grouch and still tell the truth to get a laugh. Truth is stranger than fiction. Fiction is closer to the truth. People today get so offended that they attack comedians on stage. Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle could care less. Mom never got any appreciation for taking care of all his children until we got older. She did not even get a new dress until the kids were grown. Everyone just expects women to do certain things, and it usually goes unnoticed. I want to thank everyone who has been in my life to help me change. If I did not mention your name, it does not make you less important. Everyone has helped me grow in one way or another. I want to thank my readers for hearing what I have to say. This book is mainly a big thank you for all the good memories I have had with these people. This is the last book I will write. I am getting older and do not have much left to say. I have run out of things to say to God except to pray for other people. I ask for help also. I just prefer silence before the Almighty. You must build a foundation one step at a time. People are good basically, and they do like to help others in need. You trust people when you get on the road to drive. You must be cautious, but most people obey traffic signs. There is a basic trust in people, and God works through people. The end is near, and now I face the final curtain. I did it my way, but God showed me the way. No one likes lectures. No one likes you taking their inventory. Unless it affects you, keep your mouth shut. After a certain age, no one likes you to tell them what to do or try to fix them as if you're broken. Stop mothering people just because you're a mother. Everyone needs their space to be alone and get things done. Unfortunately, that has been a problem for me to give others space, but I'm getting better. I like the nights by myself to relax or get something done. My cat and I give each other space. She is very independent. She leaves me alone when she knows I am working on something. The cat is so laid back, which helps me to relax. This cat is the most talkative cat I have ever had. She brings me her toys as a gift to the bedroom and meows. I thank her for the gift. I think it is important to use your gifts while you have them. Not everybody can be a star. Personally, I like my private life. Elvis worked hard. He just could not keep up with his fame. The End. In the Realm by Janet Galooly, narrated by Janet Galooly. Thanks for being a listener.